Miz on me, miz on me, miz on me. Appreciate you guys for continuing to support the movement. Bigzoespodcast everywhere. YouTube, Spotify. Click subscribe now. Leave a comment below. Another great topic. Y'all know voting is around the corner, but for some reason, the great topic is about how important is voting. How important is voting? Last election, 1.1 million black men stayed home. So how important is voting? Easy question to answer, but let's debate. Miz on me, miz on me. Big so.
Miz on me. Welcome to the Big Zo podcast. I go by the name of Berto.
It's your boy Beats on the beat. This Rodney.
Oh, Ted, you on mute. You got to unmute yourself, man.
It's your boy Tech Game Teddy. I'm just multitasking right now. That's all.
Oh, my bad. Hey, man, we got a couple people that's going to be joining us during this podcast, but we're going to get started either way. Today podcast, we'll be talking about, obviously, it's an important time this year. It's basically an election year. So what we're gonna be talking about, since everybody's blaming like the black man, saying the black man don't go out and vote, they stay home. So the number one question we're gonna talk about is pretty much how important is voting? And I know it's an easy question. People's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Voting is very important. But the reason why I'm bringing up the question because a lot of black people or black men especially feel that I guess both parties don't do anything for them. So the question is, how important is voting? So I'm gonna let you start off, Teddy. Then we're gonna go to Watney.
Voting. I mean, we can we go on for days about this, but voting is it's the one thing you can do to change the outcome of your future and the future around you. When you vote for uh, the president, the mayor, governors in your town, and other things like that, those governors change the zoning laws, which tell you where you cannot post your business or push your business, or if you can have a business outside of your house, if the place you live is residential. When your taxes go up or the rent goes up in a certain community, and people start getting upset because gentrification is happening and other things like that, that's because certain mayors or political figures change different laws to allow other people to get into businesses or get into those areas and change those things. And if you don't know those things can affect you. So voting allows you to change those things that affect you in the world around you. If you want to keep the parks in your area, if you want more money to go into the park so your kids have a safe environment to live, if you want to make sure that when your kids go to school they learn this specific thing or they're eating this specific food, voting not just for your president but voting in general is important. It's crucial to the way you live and everything around you.
All right,
That's my
Watney.
I mean, yeah, voting is important. Very important, actually. That's what I believe. But the problem that most people that don't believe in voting is that they don't see the immediate results of it. For example, in order to get like the most immediate result for your vote, is to vote locally, because you'll see that like right away. Like how my man Trey was just saying about the parks and how you want safe environments and the school systems and stuff. Voting locally is the best way to do that. The problem is most people focus on voting on the federal level, such as the presidency. And what they don't understand is that voting on the federal level, you don't get the immediate results. But it takes months, decades, years for you to get a return on your investment. For example, I know someone right now, she was born with pre-existing health conditions, right? And right now the Trump administration is in the Supreme Court trying to get rid of the Affordable Health Care Act, right? If Trump wins and he gets rid of the Affordable Health Care Act, she's fucked. You feel me? Because she has so many pre-existing conditions that she's gonna become uninsurable, which means she ain't gonna be able to get insurance, or her insurance is gonna be expensive as fuck. And the problem was that with that is that most people they don't they don't like see the benefit of voting federally, even though that's the one they focus on the most because it's not immediate. So what I always say with people is that yes, of course you should definitely go vote. It's fucking important. It dictates your future. I mean, last semester I had a teacher. She told me if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're on the menu, which means people are gonna fuck you over if you don't vote. So I definitely believe that voting is very important.
I think that not to cut you off or anything, but I think that the lack of knowledge or just knowledge alone is also a reason why people don't vote. They're either too scared or they don't know. So they don't know what's going on or when they vote, if the vote goes to an electoral college or anything like that. I think a lot of people think that when I go into the polls and I vote Donald Trump or vote Joe Biden, the one vote should count and say, this is Joe Biden who's winning the election and stuff like that. But a lot of people don't understand that when you vote, you have people in Florida who are your representatives. Just like in high school when you had SGA and stuff like that, when you wanted things to happen for pep rallies or parties and other things like that, you don't get all the students of that class to vote for that. You get them to influence the SGA captain's vote, and the SGA captain will then say, okay, we're going to have a Cinderella themed prom, or we're going to have a cool futuristic themed prom. So like in Florida, we have electoral candidates that will then say, hey, this county and this area all voted Republican, so that's the vote we're choosing. I think that's why people either are too scared or people just don't know enough about voting when it comes to voting. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm losing.
No, you
No,
good.
that makes
That
complete
makes
sense.
sense.
You feel
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Hey, but Teddy, I think you make a great point, and Rodney make a great point to where, of course, that's what voting is supposed to be. But let's be honest, like even like the SGA stuff that you talk about in high school, everybody that was on that member, like all the popular kids hated everybody that was on that member. I mean, on that board, from like Leslie, the president, to Devon. You know all the people. We hated all of them. All the popular kids hated them. So like we didn't understand the government issue. I say that to say this: we only care about, or more of us talking about the presidency because we can relate Trump to like 6ix9ine. He's trolling, you know what I'm saying? And so it's a fucking entertainment in a way, you know what I'm saying? Even though it's our live, it's entertainment, and because of that, more of us are learning about the presidency, but we still don't have the knowledge, and that's what you were talking about, Ted. Or maybe we're too scared to feed ourselves knowledge to where we understand where it starts at the local level. You know what I'm saying? But how do you change that narrative where you have a presidency that's basically a president that's basically an entertainer, you know what I'm saying, dealing with real life issues. You know what I'm saying? How do you get someone to be really engaged to be like, okay, all these people that he's appointing as judges, who the fuck are they? You know what I'm saying? Why is he appointing them? Like, we're not even doing that, but we want to hear about what he's saying or his reaction to stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's how I trickle it down to like this 6ix9ine effect.
It starts at a local level, but to answer your question, how do we change that? Get him out of office. I mean, we had a president 5 years ago that was calm, cool, and collected. So anytime there were bombs dropped or attacks on our nation or anything like that, we can go to the president, look at him, and watch his speeches and understand he kept us calm, cool, and collected. But now, anytime anything happens, if someone passes away or anything like that, the president's out here talking smack to his own candidates and his own representatives. Trump, for the past year, Trump's been talking nonsense about COVID, and now he has COVID, and he's like, we got to make change. Like, it doesn't make sense. He should have been doing that 6-8 months ago when COVID was just a rumor or just talked about and stuff like that. We need a president. So step one is to get him out of office, because we need a president who could, one, stay calm, cool, and collected. Two, who's not going to worry about the numbers like Tekashi or like himself right now. And three, who we can all at least respect halfway. Before Trump was president, nobody respected him then. We just thought he was an entertainer, like you said, on the Celebrity Apprentice. Anyone who passed by Trump Towers, they didn't like the Trump Towers or anything like that. Like, I still question why he's president, but we have a choice right now, and we have an opportunity right now to vote him out.
I don't know why you question it. It's just more people voted for him. That's it. More people went out to vote for the man. That's it. Even though Hillary had the
That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, he had the electoral column vote. He didn't have the popular vote. So more people actually voted for
That's
Hillary.
one thing also.
So people actually went to the polls for him instead of, you know what I'm saying, the popular vote, which was Hillary. You know what I'm saying? So everybody was saying Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. And just like they were saying Bernie, 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 But who is out there really going to vote for these motherfuckers? You know what I'm saying? Trump actually got these people, you know what I'm saying, these groups that he calls in, and now he's sending signals through the media, you know what I'm saying? These people are ready to back him and do whatever he wants for them. You know what I'm saying? People are still on the fence about Joe Biden, you know what I'm saying? Still people are still asking questions about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, where people know Trump is fucked up, but he still has this group of people that's ready to go back him out.
And the
I
question
feel
is
like
how important.
that's one.
No, go
Let
ahead.
me make this one. Let me make this one point real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that needs to be about, like, that just needs to go away is electoral college, because that system right there just devalues everybody's vote. Because you get a person like Donald Trump who lost the popular vote by 3 million votes, but he won because of the electoral college. The electoral college system really devalues everybody's vote. I feel like that shit just needs to go ASAP.
I think a lot of things need to change because the Electoral College was created. Uh, I don't know the exact date, but it was in the 1700s, and the reason why it was created was because a lot of people were like, "Do we want these random rebels that came from the UK into America to start dictating and ruling all the things we do, or should we have a democratic vote?" So they created the Electoral College because they had people rushing out to the west side of the United States and tons of people in Philadelphia and New York and all these other places. So they needed a representative in each area as America was expanding. But now that we've expanded, America hasn't expanded much further since Puerto Rico, since Haiti, or not Haiti, Hawaii, and all these other places like that. So I think America needs somewhat of a reset, where they need to take this electoral college and say, hey, we can see it hasn't been working and it needs to change. But that won't happen unless people start voting and start voting fiercely. And when it comes to voting, a lot of people know the two candidates that are running, Trump and Biden, but there's 20 other things that you vote for on these voting polls. So like legalizing marijuana usage or different laws in Florida and stuff like that. Those things are on the ballot too. And a lot of people who don't vote just because of things they see on social media or things that they talk about, like that will affect you later. That'll affect your family who has pre-existing conditions and other things like that. So like voting is just that important. It's not just about the president or the scapegoat that we see on screen. It's about the other things, the small laws that get passed, the laws that when your friend or someone you knew gets arrested and they end up doing 20 years for something that wasn't a law 2 years ago, and now you're learning about those things. Those things are on the ballot that you can change. So I think everyone should go out and vote. I know you see it on Instagram. I know you see it on Twitter. I know everybody sees it everywhere about registering to vote and making sure you're registered to vote. It's everywhere because it's that important.
And the reason why I say the question was how important is voting. The reason why voting is important because if you think about it, what are they trying to do, especially the Republican Party? They're trying to make sure black men, especially black people, stay home. They're trying to do everything to mess up the election. Now, the mail-in ballot, they're saying, okay, it's a fraud. But if you think about it, Trump cast his vote like through the mail-in ballot, but it wasn't a fraud for him. The military does it. Like this, Ohio been doing it for years. So they realized, okay, if we could make an easier way for black people not to leave their house, just put it on a mailbox, that'll be an advantage, most likely for the Democrats. So the question is how important is vote? People got to understand if it wasn't that important, why are the other parties trying to do everything in their power to make sure black people stay home and not vote? And that's the question that they got to ask themselves. And also, the reason why voting is important, man. Like I think Wani said it in the beginning is we need to focus on a local election. Like we need to focus. Like I understand George Floyd died. Rest in peace to him and Breonna Taylor. Rest in peace, sir. But you got to understand we're the one that's hiring like the chief of police, the mayor, the district attorney. We don't the local judges. We're the one that's not hiring them, but we don't want to allow them to be vote in, or and we don't want to have the power to vote them out. Like even if you feel like it's two of the lesser evils with the presidency, okay, just vote for the right person that you think that you have a chance to talk to. One side you don't have no chance of like talking to them or persuading them to look out for your best interest. The other side, at least you have a chance, man. Okay, at least he's going to listen to us. He might not give us 100% what we asked for, but sometimes something is better than nothing. Even if he gives us 50% what we asked for, it's better than something. Then at the end of the day, we can move on and say, okay, the 4 years we put whoever we put in charge. If they don't like what we're doing, if we don't like what they're doing, we can spend the same energy and vote them out. So I think voting is very important. People need to focus on the local election. That's just my opinion because at the end of the day, we got to focus on the city that we live in. Granted, the presidential election is as important, but the local election, the judges, the polices, the mayors, the school board, and especially if you have kids, the school boards are important. Like school district are important. Like what school that your kids go to, that's very important. How much money is coming to the school you're going to? That's very important. What kind of teachers they hire? What kind of program? After school programs are being cut. That's very important. That's a local election.
Hey,
So I think
bro,
yeah.
let me give you a prime example of why local elections matter. Like, I don't know if y'all remember or not. Y'all better remember. It's our hometown. But I believe it was last year, Lake Worth, Florida. You remember how the mayor of the fucking city, an elected official, and some other elected
Oh yeah, this
official
was this
were,
was in March. This was in March actually. That's
oh,
for
this
the
was a couple
coronavirus.
years, a
Yeah,
couple months ago.
yeah,
Yeah, she was turning off the power and utilities of residents who did not have the money to pay. The reason why they didn't have the money to pay was because it's a fucking pandemic and everybody's getting laid off.
yeah.
However, her elected bitch ass was cutting off people's utilities regardless. So that's a prime example of why we should pay attention to what our locally elected officials are doing to us because they really are taking advantage of us. If nobody's looking to hold them accountable, then they will run all over us. So we really have to pay attention to what is going on in our local elections and cities.
Absolutely. And the crazy part about that story is when I went back and asked when I was talking the story about a lot of people that stays in Lake Worth, the first thing they said is like, we didn't know the mayor was a woman and we didn't know she was a white woman. Then they said like, we didn't even know who the mayor is. And I'm like, how in the world you live in a city, that's pretty much, and then people know the population of Lake Worth, it's like probably 75% of different like, groups like immigrants, black people, Spanish people, Haitian, Dominican, Jamaican is and y'all didn't no one knew who the mayor was. That you had an old white lady that became mayor and no one knew who she was. But that just
Yo,
crazy to me how important voting is and that people got to start paying attention. But before y'all
hey,
continue, man, let me just Mac is joining us. Mac, the question we asking right now, how important is voting, man? How important is voting? We can't hear you, man. I don't know if your audio is not working. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. All right, Beast man, go ahead. Then when Mac figure it out, you join.
And I was also saying that also makes it to the point where I was talking about because it's like these people were like within 4 years they had to go through election. I mean, so it's like how do we educate everyone else? Everybody else is like to me. Everybody is talking about the presidential debate. How do we turn that conversation, or how do we make it entertaining enough to where we talk about our local election like we're talking about our president?
I think podcasts like this definitely help. I didn't mean to cut you off, Berto, but
No,
I
you
think
good.
being able to share that knowledge. I have a tattoo on my shoulder that says "Knowledge is freedom, ignorance is slavery," because a lot of people are just they're ignorant. They don't know. They didn't know the mayor was a woman. They didn't know what was going on. But if you go anywhere in Lake Worth and ask anybody in Lake Worth if they like paying Lake Worth utilities, they'll start talking about how quickly Lake Worth utilities get shut off during rainstorms and stuff like that. But they don't know who the mayor is. They don't know how to go about making those changes. So I think doing things like finding people who you can connect with, your friends, your family, sharing podcasts like this, sharing information, and letting them know, like, hey, when your power goes out, find out who cut out the power and learn from there. I think just spreading that knowledge and information will get them to feel that on a personal level, and then go out and say, hey, I can make change, and I can't go and press a button or click a button on my screen to stop the Lake Worth utilities from changing, but I can vote and make sure that someone hears my voice and hears me when I get upset that I'm paying X amount of dollars for electricity that only stays on once a week.
All right,
How do
cool.
we
Mac,
start these? How do we
Hey
start these
Rob, can you
support
hear me?
groups?
yeah, I can hear you. Hey,
All
Mac.
right.
Let's just start with let's get Mac opinion on this. Mac, man. Appreciate you joining us, man. But the question we asking right now is how important is voting? How important is voting in your opinion?
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. The question, how important voting is to me, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say a 5 for me personally. I feel like I'm listening to the panel, and I think like the people who are speaking, I'm sorry if I don't know your names, but you're correct in saying that it's very important to vote on a grassroots level. But when it comes to voting on a national level, I don't think it's very important at all.
Well, can you dive a little deeper as to why you think that's not important?
I feel like on a national level, we've been going through a cycle for the past 40, 60 years where basically the two major parties are basically in cahoots with the corporations and big business and lobbyists and oligarchs that run the country. So in a sense, it's pointless to every 4 years, every 2 years switch out presidents and senators and Congress people, because basically they're all working for the same people. They're not working for us. They're doing the bidding of big pharma, of the industrial, the war powers that be people who are basically running the world, and they're beholden to those people. And I feel like as a group, we can't change the national picture of how politics works. But I feel like on a grassroots level, we can all come together and affect change locally in our communities, citywide, maybe if we're lucky, statewide.
It's a little deep, man. I kind of want to know. So you say you vote as a state level, but not through the national level?
I would say more local. I said like if we come together on a grassroots level and we do what's necessary and vote and elect good people, good leaders, good people with progressive ideas, maybe eventually it'll trickle up to the state level. But I think on a national level, I don't think voting works at all. I think the system is too broken for us to, every 4 years, every 2 years to actually go out and cast a vote. I feel like, in my opinion, it's meaningless, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. We're getting screwed or fucked either way.
Since we're talking opinion here, what do you think would help fix that broken system?
In my opinion, the only thing that will might sound extreme, but the only thing that would fix this broken system is if we somehow revolted and overhaul the entire system in general. Because I feel like the entire system is first of all, it's not built for us, Black people, especially Black immigrant people. Secondly, I feel like it's too corrupt. Everything is about if you look at the politics on a national level, everything is about money, billions of dollars, people taking, basically it's illegal to take bribes. Politicians could have super PACs, and these super PACs are run by billionaires, and they could basically take legal bribes. And whenever we vote a politician, whether it be a Democrat or a Republican, no matter what they say, to us, all of it's going to be lies. They're going to follow the agenda of the people who are really running the country. So I feel like the only way we can actually change it is if we say, F both sides and, destroy the system and start a whole new system.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, because a lot of people, especially in our community, Black people, Black men, they kind of feel the same way you do as far as voting like locally, or some of them don't even want to vote at all. So I guess just to transition to the next question, and this is a part 2. So the question was going to be, man, what do the Republican Party and the Democrat Party got to do to get the Black man to vote?
That's easy. Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an easy one. You'd have to give the Black man economic power. both parties have been basically taking turns fucking us over for the past, I don't know how long, maybe 40, 60 years. Whenever they always whisper sweet nothings into our ears every 4 years, they come to us, you know, and beg us for our votes, and they make all these, you know, promises, but we never see any tangible results. If they would just give us something economically to basically try to heal us from all of the economic deprivation that's been going on for the past 40, 60 years, that would start the process of us maybe trusting one of these parties and and trying to elect them as our leaders. But basically do the same thing that they're doing for the corporations and the oligarchs that that they're beholden to. Bribe us, promise us X amount of money.
That's what, if they gave us 40 acres and a mule, would you be straight with that? Would that be one step in the right direction?
Maybe the modern day 40 acres and a mule, maybe the modern day 40 acres and a mule would be some type of economic stimulus they're directly treated to Black men or Black people or Black immigrant men. I'll be very happy with that, because basically they've been overlooking us for any excuse not to help us out economically. And it's not like they don't have the money. If you follow Ice Cube, he was talking about this on his Twitter the other week. Basically, they invented money out of nowhere, $3 trillion, and gave it to their friends, and the people that they're beholden to during the pandemic. $3 trillion out of nowhere.
To the rich businesses and stuff, the big businesses.
Yeah,
all that money.
Imagine if they gave that money to us, the people, but instead they gave it to people who were already wealthy. Forbes top 40 list came out, and the top 40 richest people in America, their profits increased by 200% during the pandemic, during an economic depression, while unemployment is at I believe 30%, while 800,000 people file for unemployment every week since March. So imagine if they give us that money and that economic power, what would happen?
40 acres and a mule would be cool. Whatever the 2020 equivalent of 40 acres and a mule would be. But once they give it to us Blacks, who do they give it to then? Do they give it to the Spanish race? Do they give it to the Chinese? Do they give it to the Native Americans? Do they give us casinos and call it a day?
The Native American already got theirs. The Chinese already got theirs. The Japanese already got theirs. They got their reparations back in the 80s. So we Black people, Black men, we're the only ones who haven't gotten ours. And
Black women.
Yeah, Black women too as well. Black people built this country. You know what I mean? Literally built this country. This country is built on the backs of Black people. And then on top of that, the Black people have fought in every single war that this country has ever fought. The very first person to die during the Revolutionary War was a Black man. I believe his name was Chris Addis. I believe there's a debt that's owed to us, Black people. And I feel like even though I'm an immigrant person and I wouldn't even share in that wealth, I would very much enjoy seeing Black people get their just due in this country. That would be an awesome thing to see, and I would support the party, which party who did that, whether it be Republican or Democrat.
No, that's very deep. That's something that I guess a lot of people is not really thinking of. That's why we asked the question, what would both parties do to give the Black men a vote? I mean, that's a great point of view. But I mean, even about the 40 acre and the mule, I understand you saying that the $3 trillion they should give it to Black people, but I would even say give $1 trillion to Black people, because if you give money to Black people, what are they gonna do? They're gonna go waste the money. I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them are gonna waste the money on unnecessary things. Because if you look at it, Black people spend over billions of dollars on unnecessary things that they don't need, they just want. So I would say, my personal opinion, if you want to talk about, reparation, I would say, how about eliminate all Black people credit? What I mean, make them have, great credit.
That'd be nice.
If they have student loans, eliminate all their student loans, all their debt, make them start to zero. And I feel like if you do that to zero, that would give them a, best chance for them to, compete as for applying for loans, business loans. borrow for personal loans. Because if you think about it, a lot of even black students, the number one thing that's killing them is student loans. Student loan debts. You know what I'm saying? And adults is basically they got credit card debts. Our parents probably got credit card debts, mortgage debt. How about erase every black person debt and give them great credit? And you know what I'm saying? I think I rather get that than getting the whatever the
That'd be awesome.
$3.2 trillion. Because at least I know I could do with that. I'll be able to do something more with that. That's just my opinion.
I
That's a good
agree.
idea.
I think that like with the stimulus checks and other things like that, you can monetize how you pay people and other things like that. And black people, I don't know the numbers, but if black people do spend money on pointless things, as long as it's money that's going back into America, it's fine. Because as you mentioned, America does things ass backwards. America's a corporation that no one's investing in. So the only way to keep America afloat is to have the people in power invest in themselves. So if you give black people stuff and they buy American cars, they buy American products and stuff like that, those taxes go back to America. So I think there's still a plus there. When what you were talking about, in my mind, it sounded like giving black people things may not help, but I think anything that allows black people to be taxed on allows taxes to go back into the state, which makes more money for the state, for the country, and which overall helps the country.
Yeah, that absolutely makes.
Again, thank you guys for supporting the movement. Big Soul Podcast everywhere. Man, great discussion. This is part 1. Part 2 will be dropping the following Thursday. Again, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. And it's all about our opinions. Big Soul, holla at us.